Hey guys, and welcome back to Civic build part. I don't even know what it is. And one thing I want to clear up, it's not necessarily a build, it's more of a rescue. I want to bring this thing back to maybe not OEM spec, but something in the middle. A nice OEM plus car that is reliable. My original idea when I purchased this car was to make it a rallycross car, but it's too clean, too solid, and too much of a classic to do that with. So I changed a little bit of direction and kind of focused on just cleaning it up, making it as best as possible. In the last video, I thought I would be pretty much at a finishing line, or at least seeing the finishing line, but I figured out that it's not building very good oil pressure. After some research online and a few things I tried, I found out that I probably have a bad oil pump. And that's where, I guess, for the purposes of making YouTube videos, it's great because it's content, but I'm really not looking forward to replacing the oil pump because there's a lot of overlapping labor to stuff I had already done with it. So I'll spare you the details in this video, and we'll get to the main parts of what I need to do to replace this. I'll just jump around, maybe give a couple suggestions if you find yourself in that same situation, but I got the part here, so unfortunately I have to invite you to participate in my abuse and watch me redo a lot of things I already did to get this oil pump replaced. One more thing we're going to do, and I didn't show it in the previous video in the alignment, but after I drove it, apparently the steering wheel must have moved while I was adjusting it, so the steering wheel's off center. So this video, I'm gonna try to get actual video footage of how you can just do an in-garage alignment to at least set a car to dead zero. I'll try to get it up in the air as high as I possibly can and put some weight on the suspension. I'll get to all that. That'll be later on in the video. So first things first, obviously the valve cover, this timing cover, all this stuff's gonna have to come out because all the work we're doing is in this general area, and I'm gonna be doing most of it through the wheel well. But to sum it up, valve cover, timing cover, exhaust, crank pulley, belts, wheel, trim, and everything that's under there all has to come out, which is all stuff that I already had out before, and that's what pains me so much about this process. But it shouldn't be too bad. It's just frustrating that I have to do it all over again. So might as well get to it and quit bitching about it. All right, so Honda's in the air as high as I dare put it, but that will put me at about chest height if I sit down working on it. So good enough for me. You may be thinking, wow, that's a fly Honda. Don't be a dumbass. Use jack stands, use reinforcements. This is a light car, but I have my jack stands almost maxed out, maybe have a couple notches left. Don't be stupid, you don't want to get crushed by your car. And to get a better visual, this is the oil pump that I bought, and this was 35 bucks. So in true spirits, it's still a budget rescue slash build, but a lot of labor intensive work we have to do here. All right, now that that's off, and a lot of you, if you own one of these, you may not be familiar with this splash shield thing that existed here, because it was probably taken off back in like 2006 by a guy named Chase that probably said that this build was going to be sick. Either way, the part we're replacing is all the way back here. That's the oil pump, so the belt has to come off, crank pulley has to come off, oil pan has to come off, all the timing covers, oil, exhaust, and everything up top. Very exciting stuff. No time to waste. One more thing we'll do is clean out this pickup tube because there is some debris in there. and as well get it nice and clean so we don't waste our time changing that for nothing. Alright, so we have everything back together. Just gotta put oil in it and put the exhaust on it, but everything is on. Timing belt, all the covers, valve cover, crank pulley, oil pan. Everything should be good, so time to put oil in it, throw the exhaust on and start it, and have a moment of truth if this was all diagnosed correctly or if I just wasted a whole bunch of time. Oh my God. No lights. This is the best she's ever sounded. What a relief. This is the best this car's ever ran. It sounds really, really good. Really smooth. No lights. Oh, what a relief. Don't mind my hat backwards. I was under the car. I'm not trying to look like a punk ass. Oh. Well, let's get the little things out of the way and we'll move on to the alignment because that's probably more interesting than me just messing around with this engine all the time. But, oh, it's so fixed. Feels very, very good. So, an update. We've got an oil leak right here on this new oil pump, and it's coming up from that plug up there. It's gonna be fun to get to, not much space, but I'm gonna have to reseal that. For a visual reference, this is the old pump, and it's this plug right here that's leaking, and that's gonna be fun to get to. Oh, the joy never stops. Okay, so we got this here plug right there. Resealed. I didn't bother recording it because without taking the alternator off, it's a struggle bus. Luckily, I had Allens like these to get it off. With a ratcheting one, I would have had to take the alternator off. So either way, as I mentioned before in the beginning of the video, I did an alignment, but I must have not had the wheel completely straight, so it's slightly off center. So what we're gonna do is break both sides loose. I'm gonna put some weight on it. I got some cinder blocks and some wood. Now, disclaimer, cinder blocks are not the best choice, but this car is light. I've heard horror stories of cinder blocks falling apart, so I'm not telling you to do this, but I'm gonna use wood to distribute the weight a little bit better, and I'm gonna leave the jack stands under there for backup, but I wanna get this car up enough to be able to reach the tie rod end so I could properly adjust them and set this thing straight. So, a slight delay, because why wouldn't it be, it's a project, but This was self-inflicted, not blaming these spacers or anything, but I used the OEM lug nuts, and apparently they were a little bit too short, so I buggered up the ends of every single stud all around the car, which means I had to buy a tap and thread all these again, fix all the threads on the end, and I got some open-ended lug nuts, so crisis averted, but a bunch of time wasted. Now, one thing I gotta do is adjust the coilovers a little bit. I mentioned that they're a little bouncy. I'm gonna adjust them off camera. Then we could get to the alignment, and then maybe, just maybe, we could call this project at least temporarily done, or done for what I was initially intending. I'm gonna do the suspension now really quick, and then we're gonna get to the alignment stuff. Okay, so we got all the wheels back on. As I said, I had to fix the threads, so I'm glad that's on. That was a very dumb mistake on my part. I set the rear ride height a little bit higher because it was rubbing here, so I raised it a little bit. Spent way too much time. I could get into detail if you guys want that, of how to corner balance and set coilovers. I could do that. I would probably collaborate with somebody much smarter than me to actually explain it properly. It took a couple of hours. I saved you the pain of it. But if you guys want a video on how to corner balance coilovers, let me know in the comments below and we'll do that. What we're going to do now is set this alignment. I'm going to leave the rear up in the air for something else that I'm going to do really quick that's going to kind of set off and make the car a little bit better. We'll get to that in a few, but I'm going to drop the car down onto these cinder blocks, and I added wood to distribute the weight. As I said, don't do as I do as I say. Get more proper security and whatnot. Cinder blocks are known to break in these applications, but this car's light. I'm going to back it up with some jack stands. I have the weight distributed. It should be okay for a quick and dirty job, but don't do this. Do it the proper way. Don't do what I'm doing. With that out of the way, we're going to drop the front end down to put weight on the suspension. Both tie rods are loose. We'll secure the steering wheel, and then I'll show you how to measure out and set the toe in on this car to dead zero. Camera fell and broke my lens. Wonderful. Alright, so we got the steering wheel dead straight. I'm going to use this to secure it. Should be okay for what we're doing. That leaves us here. You could see there's a little bit of towing on this side. And this side is pretty much dead straight. So now with weight on it, I'm just going to adjust it till the wheels are straight, and we're going to take a measurement off of one spot on the tread here and the other side on the front side and the back side till it's even. Really quick before we jump into this alignment, you're going to see me make some marks on the tires. They are irrelevant to you if you're trying to do the same thing. They're just a point of reference. So I'm going to take a paint marker. I'm going to mark the front part of the tire as low as I possibly can, or close to horizontal as I can, and then do the same thing on the back side. So every time I take my measurement after making an adjustment, I'm taking a measurement at the same exact spot. So none of the measurements I have are relevant because tire tread, wheel offset, and everything else will change all of that. So don't pay attention to any of my measurements. Just make sure you have some kind of a reference point or a marker. So again, we're taking a measurement of toe in and toe out, and all of my paint markers and the tape measure are doing is just a point of reference. So from the front to the back, the closer you could get to horizontal, the better to get the best measurement. All right, so here we are. I'm holding the tape measure in one spot, and I marked it with a paint marker on that tire on one spot of the tread, and then we're going to run it to here. And again, I marked this side of the tire, and obviously you want to do it as horizontal as possible, but it doesn't always work. You get interference from engine and whatnot. On the front side, we're about 54 and an eighth. This will obviously be different for every tire you do. It does help to have a helper, but I'm going to do the same thing on the back side. And from this point, I'm just gonna start adjusting it till both measurements in the front and rear are the same. So we'll see where we end up after I get it straight. Right now, we're at 54 and an eighth, and it does look like I have a little bit of towing. All right, on this side, looks like we're about ½ an inch off. Like I said, it helps to have a helper, so I have Lauren holding on the other side because my legs aren't long enough and I'm too fat to fit underneath it. So essentially, I gotta get the front to about 54 and a half inches to have this thing at dead zero. All right, to recap really quick, to give people a better visual, I marked both tires exactly where, and obviously you want the straightest section as possible. And I had my little helper hold that side. We did the front and back, I adjusted. And right now, we're completely at dead zero. The wheels are dead straight. Steering wheel is dead straight. And it's fully loaded up in the front. So pretty much, that's how you set an alignment on an older car where it sets to dead zero toe in and toe out. I just gotta tighten up the tie rod ends, and that'll be that. Seems easy enough. Not always the case. The rear is up in the air because there's one more thing we gotta do, and that is install some sort of exhaust. It cuts off here and kind of looks blank and crappy. So if you have a keen eye, you may have noticed this box sitting around in the background. And I've had this exhaust tip for probably 10 or 12 years. I've never done anything with it, and I think it would be a good fit for the Civic because race car. So we'll get this thing mounted up here and our race car will be done. This should actually work out much better than I expected. This is the end result we're going for, and I just need to get an adapter from whatever that size is to whatever this size is and get it mounted up. Race car things Honda style. All right, this should be easy enough. I got this coupler here from AutoZone for like $4 or $5. Got it welded to the tip just so it's stronger. We'll clamp it on here. I'm gonna probably cut these off. I got an extra clamp just so I could rotate it up a little bit so it sits nicer. Easy breezy. Let me just paint these welds here so it doesn't rust. Easy enough. And she's done and runs better than it's ever ran before. It's honestly, I'm very happy with that. The exhaust in itself looks pretty damn good, I would say, considering it wasn't exhausting at all to put that on. Probably the easiest and most satisfying job on this entire build, if you want to call it. What's left? Let's take her for a spin. Gotta move some stuff around. Still love the way that car looks. Oh, this is what it takes to get proper camera angles. Jesus. Let's hope this thing's not a complete piece of shit. Honestly, this is probably the first time I've taken this car on a proper drive. Everything between has been limping it back to the garage or just having a breakdown while trying to drive it. So, honestly, it's not too bad. It's not a bad car. I mean, it has no balls whatsoever. So while we're we're driving it, I might as well address what's going to become the elephant in the room, and that is that this car is going away. I have a few friends that are interested in purchasing it, so before I put it out to the general market, I'm going to offer it to them first, see if they were bluffing, and then it's going to go on its happy way. Not as easy to make a U-turn, but oh, no power steering. Adjusting the suspension, this thing drives a million times better. So in many videos in the past of this thing, I kept asking, what would you guys like to see? Well, when this thing fell on my lap, per se, I originally thought this would make a really cool rallycross car. As I've worked on it and worked on this project of rescuing it to its OEM plus state, I've kind of realized that it would be a waste of such a clean, solid car to just get turned into a rallycross car. In reality, these cars are becoming these cars are becoming classics, and it'd be a shame to destroy it, especially when it's such a solid, clean car, at something like rallycross. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to part ways with the Civic for other projects. I mentioned in the previous video I had to unload some cars and clear up some space, and unfortunately, again, this will be the first of them to go. The next might be the GLC or the Golf R, even though I don't want to get rid of either of those cars. But we may have to do that to finance other projects. It's been a long time coming. I've gotten mad at this thing many times. But honestly, it's not bad at all. Or we'll leave off this one the way we started the first one. Let's see if she'll do a burnout. I guess it did. Not bad. For like 90 horsepower or whatever this thing's got. So with that bombshell and the need to clear out space, we'll leave it off here. It's unfortunate that the Civic's gotta go, but it's a car I don't really need. And I really want to get into the rallycross world, and it'd be a shame to destroy this one. So it is what it is. If I had the money, the means, and the space, this car would stay forever, but that is not the real world, so unfortunately, she's gotta go. So, as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.